Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Ted Lasso, Season 2, Episode 10. No weddings and a funeral. In this episode, Rebecca's father unexpectedly passes away, and it brings up some things for Ted. It brings up some things for Rebecca, that's for sure. And she makes a pretty big, but I think emotionally intelligent decision at the end of the episode. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm RoShawn.
All right, so Dad's dying.
Dad's dying. You know this is gonna get me. I feel like, did it get you in any weird way?
It didn't.
Or unsurprising way, I should say, not weird.
The only reason that it didn't is because I'm covering something for Spoil Me, and there was an unexpected, very unexpected dad death in that. So it robbed me of the emotion early. So once I watched this, I was just kind of like, oh my God, another one. That's so weird. And I was more preoccupied with that.
Gotcha.
But if that hadn't happened, and I also think I don't remember meeting Rebecca's father. Did we ever?
We didn't.
So
that
didn't have as
memory,
much of an effect that way also.
That's what I appreciated about this episode is that the death that is experienced by our characters is not experienced by us. Like, we don't know her father. We don't know Paul. There's a bit at the end where Ted talks about meeting him that one time and this dance that he does. We never saw that.
Yeah.
So we have we are only experiencing their grief and whatever purely as a third party. Like, we don't have any attachment to this character, right? We only know what Rebecca says about him. We only know the little tidbit that Ted throws out. You know what I mean? It's a really interesting way to do that, because usually when a TV show will talk about a death, it's someone we've met.
Yeah.
So that the
or
audience
in
is
the fucking Walking Dead, they'll quickly humanize that dad 5 minutes before killing him and give him an entire pathetic backstory.
That just they finally just wrapped. Finally, just
they wrapped years ago in spirit. We all know it.
Well, let me rephrase that. Production ended.
There we go. Yeah,
fairly recently. And I heard it really turned around. I'm not going back. I will just take people's words for it. I'm not going back to The Walking Dead. I'm not watching that. But I hear all kinds of original characters returned. I don't want to spoil anybody who might be listening, but you know who I'm talking about.
She's winking at the camera.
But yeah, I'm not going back for all that. But yeah, but generally, especially at a sitcom, when they introduce a heavy episode like this, it'll be a parent that we met once or twice,
Yeah.
So we can all be sad and we're grieving this character that we met. But this isn't that. We don't know this man at all. We never met him.
Yeah.
And yet I found the episode to be really, really affecting.
Yeah, I still think it really worked. It didn't bother me I think if this were done in a different way, it would feel like, what are you doing? But because it's about Rebecca, and we don't really need to know him to know,
right?
Her reaction and what she says, I trust as being true,
Yeah. It's mostly the whole episode. We'll get to it. The retelling and the way that Rebecca's story and Ted's story are intercut and so similar, even down to the day that these things happen. But the coming to grips with the shortcomings of your parent, you know, and reconciling how your parent wasn't everything you needed them to be. Yeah. And trying to get to a place where you can be okay with that, I think is so universal, you know?
Yep. And it's an interesting thing, like, how differently we all handle that. And I'm okay with, like, kind of jumping around a little bit in the way we talk about this episode.
Okay.
I'm going to bring up when he's finally... because he begins to have a panic attack. He's doing well getting dressed and seems to be in a good mood.
Yeah. I love that callback, too. Do you remember that? Many episodes ago, he tells Beard that he thinks that you should be able to get dressed in a time it takes for each lover to play. It was like... Oh,
right. Yes, I forgot about that. Yes.
And it's also a great song. Shout out to Philip Bailey, Phil Collins. Classic.
But he sees his son's photo there, right? I think is like part of what sort of... that and the fact that it's a father's death. And I think the combo just kind of hits him.
Absolutely.
And he begins to have... oh, man, y'all. I had my very first hands tingling panic attack a few days ago. I've had panic attacks before, but I have never had that symptom. Oh. And it was the hands and feet tingling and feeling really cold all of a sudden. And it was a reaction to the sending the puppy away on the plane. It was a hugely complicated process that involved vet visits, an extensive amount of money. It was wound up being so much more than we expected. Thankfully, he paid for everything, but I had to like output initially, and he had to pay me back. Yeah. And the day we brought the puppy down, they sent us to the wrong address to drop him off, and thank God we were like really early. But the directions they gave us to the proper place were not correct. And then we got there and the vet had filled out the form wrong. So I had to call them and have them emergency email something to the airline's email address. It was like everything went wrong. And I was so relieved. Owen wound up taking the day to come down with me because I was going to do it by myself. And if I did, I don't know what would happen. I'm so glad you didn't. But it was the night before because I was aware how much could go wrong. And I was so overwhelmed. And I'm a very organized person. And it was very hard for me. I can't imagine if you're not like me trying to send an animal. Like, God help you. But it was the first time I ever had that symptom. And I when it started to happen, I recognized that this is what Ted, like moving his hands in the moment I'm having the panic attack. And I'm like, oh my God, Ted Lasso. I'm like, this is not a normal reaction. But he starts to do that and I'm just like, oh fuck. Cause of course you know what it is. And I love his reaction as well. It's just the whole, not now, not right now kind of thing, you know? Yep. And then he calls Dr. Sharon and she winds up making a house call for which she is definitely charging him. Good for you.
I love that. I love your integrity. I love that. Like, they didn't have to include that, but I so appreciate that they did.
Yes.
You know, because, like, I might be reading a little bit too much into it, but there's something about, because there have been articles over the last couple of years. I don't know if I think you and I have had a conversation privately about it, but there has been like a little bit of a trend in TV where we suddenly started to get a lot of like black therapists to support white protagonists. So we had a black therapist in Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Right.
I watched a show called You're the Worst, which I highly recommend. I think it's a fantastic series. There was a black therapist that supported that main character. Camps as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I didn't watch, but I'll take your word for it. And a couple of different things where like black women started showing up as therapists to support the main white character.
Right.
And I don't know if the Ted Lasso people are aware of it or not, but just the fact that there was an acknowledgement of you're a professional and your time is of value. Yes. And I'm glad that you're here to support me, but yeah, I'm paying you for this time. Yeah. You know, I just really, really appreciated that.
That, and also just on a different level, I appreciate a show acknowledging that it costs money every time.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, in general, TV has a real nasty habit of acting like these sorts of resources are just available to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate the, like, no, this costs.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
you have to pay. And especially for her coming to your home, like, this isn't a thing most therapists are just going to do. But he is talking to her about the fact that he didn't go to his dad's funeral because he was angry at him. Which, yeah. And he hates him for what he did. He says, I think I still hate him. And I really enjoy Sharon just being like, I think you do too.
Yeah.
And he expresses the fact that this man gave up on him and on his mom. And
Quit
eventually she asks him, what's a good thing you remember about him?
I love this moment so much.
I honestly was a little annoyed.
Were you really?
I wanted, and I understand that within the framework of the episode itself, I understand why it was done this way. But there is something about in the midst of having this revelation about your dad's suicide that you haven't talked to her about before, her asking you to say something good about him feels dismissive somehow.
Oh, really?
Like, let the session be what it is about. And maybe, like, towards the end of things you can sort of, but, like, it felt like it was stepping on how he was feeling a little bit.
Interesting.
And I say this because one of my first therapy sessions that I really, like, actually opened up and started talking about my father, I was talking about things that he had done that made me angry. And I like rapped and said, but then he did some good things too, and blah blah blah. And she stopped me and was like, why are you qualifying all of this?
Right.
You can just be angry at him. You don't need to justify yourself to me and say, no, but I loved him and I understand he was doing his best. I believe that you do hold those feelings also, but you're putting them out there right now as if you're like trying to take the edge off of what you said, and you don't have to do that. And so I was seeing it through the lens of like the way I handled it, and I don't think that's fair to the scene, but I just want to acknowledge the way that I reacted because of what I have done.
I think that's valid. I also, Dead Dad Club.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, this moment with Dr. Sharon, because when Ted is having this panic attack that's interrupting his day, Ted still needs and wants to go and be there for Rebecca. Right? He's not having this therapy session and then he's going to be done and he's going to be able to go back in bed and lay down and like process everything. He has to still get out the door and go be somewhere else. So that is the only reason why I gave a little bit of a pass to that sort of, well, tell me something good. Mm-hmm. Because my first time watching, I had a very similar reaction to you, where it felt like, no, he's finally saying out loud these things that he's been holding in all of these years. Like I'm assuming he's never said this before to anyone. Yeah. It feels very much like this is the first time he's saying out loud, how difficult it was and how angry he is. And I was annoyed like you were. Like, why are you making him like, okay, yeah, but this is a great thing he did too. Like, that's not fair. Yeah. But then after watching it again 17 times, I was like, oh, well, maybe she's trying to help him switch gears so that he can go be, where he needs to be for Rebecca and at the funeral and all that stuff. Because if she had let him just stay in that moment of that anger, that's your day. Yeah, that you're not sense. Going anywhere to be anything for anybody. You know what I mean? Yeah. Also part of the Dead Club, Chris says in the chat.
Yeah, I like this. We should make a Netflix series, DDS or DDC. My bad. So this also, like, thinking about how this is affecting him now, starting to really lock into place some of what being married to him may have been like.
Yeah.
And her also saying, I don't want to quit, and really kind of stop looking at the chat, RoShawn. I see her. But his wife specifically said at one point, I'm going to keep trying. And it feels like, what if he hasn't talked about this in too much detail, at least she knows that he has a thing about being quit on.
Yeah.
And that was really fueling part of this, like, dragging out, you know?
Yeah.
Which makes it all the more understandable how he started to have panic attacks surrounding the divorce. Like, even outside of the effect on his son and it being linked to that, just deciding that you're going to walk away from something when this is such a triggering thing for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
The thing about, like, leaving his son, and, you know, now that we have, like, more context, you know, and this idea of, like, sort of abandoning your family, and what that means to Ted, because, you know, of his experience of what it means when the father gives up, quote unquote, you know, when the family, and, like, how difficult that would be if you feel like you're doing the same thing that the man that you hate, that you're so angry about, you have all of this unresolved anger. It's never really been expressed. You haven't dealt with it. It's all just been, like, buried. And then you kind of do the same thing, you know, like, you just leave and go to a whole other country. There's however many hours, you know, away. Like, you're not there when your son might need you.
Yeah.
And how that can sneak up on a man. You know,
there's also a slight indicator that more time has passed than I thought, because the picture of his son, he looks a lot older. Well, and I don't know, like, you know, kids grow really fast, so I'm not saying it's been years, but based on the fact that he mentions meeting Rebecca's dad and there being a whole thing there that I never saw.
I think the best indicator of how much time has passed is that we see Rupert and his new Rebecca, and the kid is now like here.
Yeah.
Right? So we know that it's been, like, he tells Rebecca that his new wife is pregnant in the first season, and now the baby is here about, like, 3 or 4 months, I guess. My God, when they start talking, that baby is whack. Oh my God, I fucking screamed.
I hate that baby. That's a good friend. That's what you need.
How her friends showed up for her in this moment.
Yeah.
With Sassy and Keely, especially Sassy. When she talks to Rupert about how she's going to wear red to the funeral and dance. And
I think about your death every day. I can't wait.
Me and the 3 other people that'll be there.
Oh, great stuff. This is how I would
all
speak to fucking Candace's ex-husband if I met him. I'd just be like, I am just waiting for you to drop dead. I'm so excited that you will eventually die.
In real life, we would absolutely not be waiting for him to die. We would murder him.
I won't say what his name is, so that if he turns up dead somewhere, nobody can use this tape against us. But yes. I really do want to mention this too. What seems to, like, make Ted go, oh, okay, I'll tell you anything, is Sharon saying she doesn't like tea because it tastes like wet paper bag.
He has been waiting. I have been waiting for this moment for you to see this.
I love that. She just, like, everything for him. All of a sudden, he just, like, looks at her and then sits. And it's just, like, done.
Right? That's it. That's the last thing he finally needed someone.
Yeah.
And that it comes from her too is really funny, because she has been, in my opinion, sort of like ultra British with her whole steez, you know, everything is, like, very formal and kind of like
stiff upper lip.
very stiff upper lip, kind of like a little bit of distance. And then she just hits him with that, oh, it tastes like, wet paper bag or whatever she says. And he's just like, fucking finally.
Stiff upper lip is such a weird saying. Like, you talk like this. I will just not move my upper lip at all. And this indicates resilience.
I'm going to tell you, after watching that Harry and Meghan documentary on Netflix, that's how they all look and how they all sound.
Oh,
the thing you're doing right now.
That's one of my favorite things about watching these British murder mysteries. I've been like mainlining Midsummer Murders again because I've been sick and it's like my comfort thing. And there will occasionally be like posh characters, and the way they speak is cartoonish. It doesn't feel. And my favorite part about it is, well, surely you don't need to ask where I was. I'm Lord Pufflunterum from Hufflepuff. And it's just like, these guys genuinely are like, well, you couldn't think I would commit a murder. And it's like, you're extra likely to commit a murder. Are you for real? Like, we know what y'all are like. You love eliminating people for just reasons.
It's your whole jam.
It's the whole way your country did its thing. What are you talking about?
How do you think you fucking went across the whole world and got gobbled up all these places?
There's this moment in Dairy Girls where James is talking about how he can't fight, and the girls are like, well, James, you're English, and it took like 5 of you to colonize half the fucking world, so we thought you had something up your fucking sleeve.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Dairy Girls is so good.
Yeah, I have to catch up. I watched like the first 2 seasons, I think, but I'm like behind.
3rd season just like dropped on Netflix not that long ago.
Oh, I'm not that behind. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'm in the middle of covering it. There's 1 episode left, and I'm so sad.
It's really a fun show.
Yeah.
All right. So, I know you said we don't need to go like beat by beat, but like, let's
back up and talk about Sam and Rebecca. Right. Oh my God.
This opening with them in bed together, and they look both so happy.
It's remarkable how Sam went from pure boy to sex bomb over the course of like 3 episodes.
Didn't take a lot, did it?
What happened?
It didn't take much. It just took a little readjustment.
Looking at her
the way
in
we look at her.
He's using like language in a tone, and I am just like, oh my God.
Yeah. All of a sudden you're like, oh, he could get it.
Oh my God. And like, he could get it before for sure, but I would have been thinking that he was going to be kind of like unsure of himself. He has all the swagger. It is distilled into its purest form.
It's going to be like all like weird puppy dog, like, you know what I mean? But he's like so self-assured and so like just like in himself and so confident in himself, you know what I mean? But not like in a like arrogant way, but just kind of like, yeah, this is who I am. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of like when he tells her towards the end of the episode, it's going to be hard for you because I'm just going to keep getting more wonderful. I was like, yeah, you are.
I love her saying I know because it's a genuine I know. Like, yeah, I know. Oh, this is going to be hard.
Yeah.
I was taken so off guard at every moment. Like, he just is oozing.
Yes.
Sex appeal. Like, how?
And
it's like he just turned it on.
The whole episode, I love that moment in the closet because, you know, this whole, like, sort of like they have to keep the whole relationship under wraps, right? Mm-hmm. So the woman that he is, like, into, you know, maybe, I don't want to love, but the woman he's into is suffering, is grieving, and all he wants to do is comfort her, and he can't because of, like, you know, we can't be public. And that moment of being, like, in the closet where it's like, I've been wanting to do this all day. Mm-hmm. And the first time this episode aired and I watched it, I thought he was going in for a kiss. But he goes in for a hug.
Yeah.
He just wants to comfort her because, you know what I mean? Like, that's what you want to do for the person that you care about.
Yeah.
And I watched that and I was like, oh, He better quit playing with me.
I swear to God. He is just like, I think Rebecca made the right decision here to slow it down and take time for herself, because she is obviously freaking out.
Yeah.
And also, losing your dad shifts a lot of stuff for you very abruptly.
Fucking really does.
In a way that you don't think
really,
it will.
It really fucking does.
I got divorced like very soon after my father died, and that is not a coincidence.
Listen.
Shit,
my marriage was like, I mean, I had been in my marriage for a minute by the time my dad died, but that shit was difficult.
Mm-hmm.
A bitch started thinking about all kinds of shit.
Yep.
Like, second guessing myself, wondering like what my motivation was and like why am I doing this and why is, you know what I mean? Like it shifted everything.
And there was shit that I was like reacting way too strongly to, and I look back now and I was clearly just transposing the emotions for my father onto a whole other thing that wasn't even anything. But I just didn't know how to handle what I was going through, and this putting it onto a different thing felt like safer, I guess.
Yeah. You got to put it somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I have since come to find out that a parent dying and essentially having an affair go together.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. We always think we're like we're all like super unique and special snowflakes. And then you read some shit and you're like, I'm so fucking basic. I did the same thing everybody else did.
That is like the number one thing to learn in life is you are just like every fucking body. Stop it.
It's true. That shit hurt your feelings and you may not be ready to accept it. Yep. But y'all, it's true.
It is like all the advice that you get given as a teenager is being given to you by people who have seen the shit you're doing a million times.
Yep.
But as a teen, you're like, no, but it's different.
Yep.
I'm different. He's really mature. And I'm really like an old soul. And no, you're not. You are traumatized.
And this motherfucker is a predator.
Yep.
I was just thinking the other day how at first my first thought was, no one told me the truth about getting older. Like, there's so many things about getting older I felt like people never told me.
Like what?
Oh, like how your body changes, how the way you think changes. Mostly the shit about your body. Like, we do this thing where my first experience was when women get pregnant, because I've never, like, had any children. There's all these things that come with pregnancy that isn't really discussed. And the big joke is people will always be like, no one told me I was going to shit.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, no one told me that was going to be a thing. And so I was thinking about how, like, going through menopause and how no one really told me, like, what menopause was. Everything I know about menopause, I learned from sitcoms.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hot flashes and, all that shit. But I never had like a real conversation from anyone being like, this is what's going to happen to your body. This is what it's going to feel like. These are the things to look for. Da, 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 da. Never happened. And so I started thinking about that. And then I realized when I was younger, the elders in my life tried to tell me.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, nah.
Yep.
I don't want to hear that.
I remember more than once my mom taking my face between her hands and looking at me and saying, enjoy it.
Yep.
Enjoy it.
Yep.
And I was just like, okay, crazy.
Yep.
What are you doing? I just
calm down.
Yeah.
Like when I can remember being a little kid and adults being like, you might feel like it's 800 years before Christmas comes, but time will start moving faster.
Yeah.
And me being like,
because proportionally, the percentage of your life it is shrinks. It's weird. It's so weird. And like your body starts acting like your body's like a bar. And it's got the kitchen open and it's serving drinks and it has a big seating area plus the bar and an outdoor section. And around 27, it starts to be like, we're closing the outdoor section. You guys can come in. 35, kitchen's closing Anybody need anything?
Yep.
Close the kitchen. Out, like extra seating. Tables are getting cleaned off. Chairs are being turned upside down, put on top of the tables. We've only got the bar open now, kiddos. Slowly, the usable sections of your body just shrink.
Smaller. like I won't bore you guys, but like the way your body changes, the way your body functions, and what it can handle and what it can't handle. Like every day, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
this bullshit. What? Like it, and I'll remember. Oh, my aunt tried to tell me this in 1987, and I just wasn't hearing her. I was like, nah, that's never gonna be me.
I had a moment when I was with Owen's family and his niece-ish. She's over here wearing like flare leg low-rise jeans.
Oh God!
And I just went, oh my God, because the style they had like the seams up the front, middle of the back, and I had those exact jeans. Like, and I looked at them and I went, I had those, and I just suddenly remembered my mom looking at a pair of shoes I had and saying I had those, and I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Yep.
Oh my God, this is what it's like. It was just a real moment of flashback, like double time, you know? Ugh. Anyway, aging is truly bizarre. I was saying the other day, I was taking a walk, somebody was doing work on their roof. Green Day was playing. Apparently it was a radio station, and it comes to like playing the classics, and I was like, I cannot.
Oh my God.
I really did. I was taking a walk with Owen, and I just stopped and looked at him because he wasn't paying attention, and I was like, did you just hear that?
I would just go back to my house and cry.
Fucking Jesus. Anyway, okay. So her and Sam in bed, and he is wanting her to like make things public.
Yeah.
And she is, I mean, I think she's telling the truth about enjoying the secrecy of it, but of course she has her reasons for wanting it to be secret.
Yeah.
And I think that she's valid with that. I mean,
yeah.
It
She's just
wouldn't
kind
go
of like, you know, it should just be for us, private. We can enjoy it. But there's a lot of, I love when she's talking, when we, like, if you go to, like, the funeral, and they're all, like, and they're in, like, the little vestibule, and they're being all loud, and the vicar keeps coming in and telling them to be quiet.
They're shrieking.
And Keely, like, gets to Sam, like, immediately. But there's a sense, and Keely's like, are you worried about the press? Because that's sort of, like, the main thing you think about. Like, Rebecca's position as owner, high profile divorcee of like this millionaire that everybody knows, and now she's dating like a football player, and like what that would be. So Keely's like, are you worried about the press? And Rebecca's like, well, yeah, kinda, but you understand that's not really the thing. There's something else happening. And it makes you really appreciate that moment in the closet where Rebecca, it just admits, like, you could really hurt me. Like, I am afraid, you know?
Yeah.
Which is such a real thing to admit, you know? And, like, a lot of us don't always have that courage to admit that that's what we're afraid of, like, the vulnerability of it. Like, what I feel for you, and if you fucking disappoint me, if, you know, you don't live up to it, if you take advantage of it, if you betray me, like, I'm not sure I could recover from that. That is such a real fucking thing. Yeah. You know, that a lot of us don't always have the space to say out loud, you know? It's hard to say that to someone. Like, you could fuck my whole shit up.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if I'm in a place to, like, do that.
I was so afraid, I'll tell you what, because her mother walks in on her and Sam, I was so mad. She's like, those boxers don't leave much to the imagination. I'm like, then leave the kitchen, bitch.
How funny is it when you think about the fucking Luca, right?
Mm-hmm.
When he's in the kitchen when mom comes in, and then mom comes in and Sam like goes down behind the counter because he's so embarrassed.
She shames him a lot more than the actually naked man.
She really did.
But she later on at the funeral, the whole team has come, which really makes Rebecca she's really moved by it. She even mentions how none of them are wearing trainers.
Oh, I love
which
that.
I love. Isaac specifically said no trainers, and everybody reacts. Yeah. And I think it's Zorro who's like, "What if they're really nice trainers?"
Yeah. He's like, "What if they're?" I think he says
what
Jesus,
color?
which is unfortunate.
Yeah,
but he's like, "They're red," and Isaac
red.
is like, no.
He just looks at him, and finally Zorro is like, retracted.
I love Colin is like, I don't have time to stand in line at midnight to buy like brand new shoes. And Jamie is like, nobody stands in line for these.
Nobody wants them. This is a really interesting thing because I don't know if how men out there sign what does it say? Sound off in the comments.
Sneaker culture?
No. Are men's dress shoes really this bad? Because like women, we joke around about dress shoes because we have to wear heels. So
yeah, for men it is, yeah.
I have a real hard time sympathizing with men because you're still in flats, so cry me a fucking river. Not to say that
they have no idea.
Absolutely can't wear flat. We can, but like, you know.
They have no idea.
Yeah. But, you know, Danny winds up like in tears practically later.
He ends up in her fucking slippers. But that's the thing too. I love that because like these type of men, well, not just these men, but in general, like the expectation isn't the same as it is for women, right?
Right.
So like these type of men can just get away wearing their comfortable, cute shoes everywhere because who's going to check them, right? Whereas women, we know like I got to put heels on for this shit. I got to put the fucking uncomfortable shoes on because that's the expectation. So being told, oh, you have to wear these shoes, and they're all like, where do you get them? Like they're so uninformed about like how to make this happen. Yeah. Because the expectation is not on them to do this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Makes me think of that photo that was shared in some group about like the expectations for women versus men, and the banner image was Beyonce in this ball gown that had a train 14 feet long on the stage at the Grammys next to what's his face, who was literally in jeans and t-shirt and trainers, and it looked like he had rolled out of bed. And I was just like,
exactly,
truly, honestly, like, come on, imagine her showing up looking like that. What people would say,
it would
never happen.
Never happen. We would never even think to do it. Yep.
But she's standing there, and this is when Rupert comes up, and her mother's super nice to Rupert. And I was kind of like, what's going on here? Because she's being really nice, but she is doing it in a way that is guarded. And once she eventually is like, oh, I'm doing this on purpose so that he doesn't think he can get to me. I was like, okay, that's what's going on. Because like she calls him Rupee.
Rupee. At one point, so nice to see you. Paul would be so happy you're here.
And she says it in response to him being shitty to Rebecca about something. And I was like, that is so, because I know she cares about Rebecca. And for her to be this way with him. And now I'm like, oh, she's defending her daughter in a way, distracting him. By being like really familiar and cute to keep him from like going on the attack with her. Yeah. Because Rebecca is really a target. Like she doesn't know how to keep him from getting to her. She's very bad at hiding that.
He's very, very good at pushing her buttons and getting under her skin. And Rebecca is often ends up on the defensive with Rupert. Yeah. Like she just, she's got all this baggage and everything. So anytime he's around, he's like such a trigger for her. Yeah. And her mom is just like, oh, so good to see you. I'm glad you came. He'd be so happy. Paul would be so happy you came. Da, da, I love
Fucking what's her face? Other Rebecca says that she ate the placenta
I ate the
raw.
placenta.
Girl.
And that's why the baby stopped crying when I mean, I guess, whatever. I don't have any kids. I don't know if that's the thing. Whatever.
I just,
no
look,
judgment.
you do what you want, but you don't need to be telling everybody that's why your kids stop crying. Like, stop it.
But you know what? That's a real
Did
thing, though.
Goop tell you that? Did
Yes.
Avocado Wolf tell you that?
Absolutely.
Did
100%.
David Avocado Wolf
David
fucking tell
Avocado.
you this?
You remember him?
I hate that man so much.
He used to show up on my Facebook feed all the time because everyone I knew would share his shit. I haven't seen him in forever. I think he's in jail now, I hope. But
I had to unfollow a friend of mine, old friend, but she was sharing shit about how if you like go stand in this kind of dirt versus that kind of dirt, the vibrations in your body change, and it results in a it's one of those things where if you just stopped with the vibrations in your body, I'm just like, all right, can't prove it, whatever.
Start
sure,
talking about alkaline
but
water.
then, yes, then it starts to turn into the vibrations in your body change, which results in a higher pH level, which means that you have to change your diet too. And I'm like, what are you doing? Are you fucking like, oh.
You have lost the thread, and now we're into some weird pseudoscience, and you don't even know what you sound like, and now I have to unfollow you.
And my favorite thing is when you click through to those, a lot of times they'll have a lot of laugh reacts, but then the top comment will be somebody who's like, took the words right out of my mouth. See, nobody's ready for this kind of talk.
They're not ready.
I just cannot. Those people who are like, oh, everybody's gonna laugh at you because they don't know. They don't get it. It's so tiring.
Listen, I'm just like, girl, I hope you get it together. I'm gonna check on you next year. But
it's been 38 years. She is not getting it together. This is as together as it is getting.
But that's the thing too. Like, there's so many of us. We're just out here and we're just trying to find like something.
You know, I mean, yeah. Mercury went retrograde yesterday. Everybody.
Yes, FYI. It did.
I'll talk about that like it's a real thing. So I guess I shouldn't say anything.
I decided that I saw a post from somebody that I follow that I really, really enjoy, and they were just like, Mercury retrograde is also a learning opportunity. You know, like we have gotten into the habit of like complaining about how just like it, oppresses us and causes all this bullshit. But it's also a learning opportunity, right? Like it will force you to face the shit that you don't want to face and help you get to the other side. And I was like, word? Because that is not how I should.
I don't need everything to be reframed into a learning experience, a chance to grow. So I would like to hibernate and not grow and not do anything sometimes. Can we just let me hide in my little burrow and ride it out?
Not allowed.
It's always, how are you progressing and moving forward? No. I don't want it. Leave me alone. It's freaking the week between Christmas and New Year's.
The week between Christmas and New Year's is a bullshit week that should not count.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Hard agree.
Those of us who have to work it, my Facebook memories came up. And like this year I was off a couple of days, but last year, I worked the whole week between Christmas and New Year's. And it's a fucking bullshit week. And it is the week where all like the higher ups take off.
Okay, yeah.
And everybody is just wilding. Everybody forgets how everything works. There's no one around to approve shit. So it's just like people just like screaming into the void about shit they don't understand. It is the worst. So this year I was off the 3 days and I only had to work Thursday and Friday. And it was so much easier because I missed all that bullshit. But I came back to work today and I saw all these emails. And I was like, oh, that's right. Nobody knows what to do this week. Everyone has forgotten how everything works. Like, it's a fucking wild, wild west. People are just like, I don't know what to do. This account had this happen, and this account needs that happen, and I'm at a loss. And I'm like, 2 weeks ago, you knew what to do. It's the same shit, but it's all a mystery now. December 26th to December 30th.
Dead zone.
Just Nobody knows.
I should just take this week off next year. Like,
yeah, do that.
That's what it works pretty well because this week, since we didn't record last week, I have very little editing to do. So that has been nice, but it also has kind of like made the week feel less structured in a way where I'm like, well, I guess I'll just remain in my pajamas. Should I just keep doing this? And I'm not used to, still, I have puppies now. You can't just remain in your pajamas.
Yeah, you can't.
Like, you can, like, if you just run out and feed them and run back inside, but, like, that's not the way. You gotta do stuff, take them for walks.
That's why I don't have puppies. Good luck with all that.
It's a whole different thing. Mm-hmm.
I'm not interested. I mean, I love it for you. You're doing a great thing. You're definitely going to heaven. But, yeah, no.
Definitely going to heaven. We'll see about that.
The other thing that's happening throughout this episode is Keely is having some really strong feelings.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Oh.
I was talking all about Rupert because I was leading up to a thing.
Oh, okay.
I was so worried Rebecca was going to use Sam to try and make Rupert jealous. And she was going to go public with their relationship for a petty, silly, small reason. I had like just a moment of just like, oh no, I hope, because he had just got done like really driving the knife into her heart because he saw her looking at the baby and having this expression. And then the bus pulls up and the players begin to get off. And I was suddenly like, oh no, what if, and I'm so glad it's not what happened, but I just wanted to mention it because it was like, you know, if we were doing a much less well-written show,
it would have been,
that's how it would have gone, I bet, you know? Anyway, Keely, yes.
Okay, so Keely is having some real strong feelings, dealing with death, real concerns, and Roy is not receptive to Keely's real concerns and is kind of like making jokes and being very dismissive.
Yeah. And
it is hurting her feelings and making her feel like she's not really being heard and seen. And he's, you know, in this moment, I'm very much a Roy. You know, sometimes, you know, you don't want to do like the hard stuff. You want to like make jokes and like dismiss it and get past it and talk about something different.
When he walks into that church and says, it tastes like dead people, babe. And I was like, what are you doing?
She's talking about getting herself, like, doing the tree thing. Like, oh, you know, they'll bury me
in a biodegradable box.
And, you know, I'll become a fruit tree and you can eat my fruit. And he's like, why would anybody want to do that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes. Why would anybody want to do that?
Listen, I love this because I'm a cook and I like to feed people, and I could continue to do that after
I just
death.
want to nurture people. That's what she says.
This. Yes. But this is how it is for me. Like when I want to talk about anything remotely spiritual with Owen, he just doesn't believe in anything like that.
Yeah.
You know? So like, when I went and read what my tarot draw was for the month of November after the whole thing with the puppies was over and realized in retrospect what that shit really meant, I texted you about it. You know, like, I can't tell Owen, you will not believe what the tarot draw was for November, and I had no idea, because he's just going to be like, wow, yeah.
That's
certainly a real thing that isn't totally made up at all. Like,
yeah, it has a lot of meaning in retrospect because you're putting meaning into it.
Okay, maybe I do. Oh well.
Yeah.
It's just
what it's like being married to Steve.
I imagine so. Which is wild because you're the Roy in this situation.
It's
and
true.
yet Steve is the Roy in your situation.
Right? Like,
which is like he's Roy like condensed down somehow.
Yeah.
That's
he's
a lot.
even more Roy than I am, and I'm plenty Roy on my own. But so she is really having like those complicated feelings, being sort of like afraid of your mortality and like what happens when you die and like really struggling with like the discomfort of it all.
Yeah.
Which is like a, normal thing. And Roy is just not interested in engaging in that.
Mm-mm.
And is shutting it down. And she gets so mad at him. He's so surprised. Are you really mad? Yes, I'm really mad.
And now I have to go and pretend to be sad.
Right?
Well, now I'm sad. Yeah.
And we get this thing in this episode where Jamie, who is catching the discord between Keely and Roy, right? Like there's a couple of shots where he's paying attention, he sees it.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's looking at her, looking at Roy, and then decides to tell Keely, shoot a shot. I came back to Richmond also for you, and tells her that he loves her.
Which I'm not sure how much I buy that. Like, I don't know. I don't think he's lying. But
well, go ahead.
It just feels like the thing to say here. If you're going to tell her you love her, you may as well say that too, kind of thing.
Do you think he's having his own reaction to like death and mortality and
definitely
is in his own shit?
Especially considering the relationship he has with his dad.
Mm-hmm.
Then you start thinking about what would I do if he died, and it just can be really upsetting to realize you wouldn't care or might be relieved. Like,
right.
And I, not to say that he's like hoping to break her and Roy up or anything.
Yeah, because he says right there, like, I'm doing a shitty thing. I'm doing a fucking really shitty thing. I'm about to tell you some shit.
And he says, like, I'm glad you're happy with Roy. Like, he acknowledges that.
Yeah.
But I can't help but think, you saw that they aren't in accord right now, and you chose this moment to say it. That feels like you definitely, Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. And I think the show, like, as you watch the episode, it's very important that Jamie is paying attention to them, to Keely and Roy.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, wait, he's not doing the thing. And she seems pissed, And then right after Jamie makes his declaration, Roy shows up and apologizes for being like a dick.
Yeah.
And explains his deal, and what it was like for him when his grandfather died, who we had heard about earlier in the sort of like the ghost episode where they all burn stuff and Roy tells a story about his granddad dying. So Roy admits and acknowledges that he's been a dick. Tells Keely, this is what happened when my granddad died. I desperately wanted like an opportunity to have some sort of closure or whatever. Like I would see him again, like Obi-Wan Kenobi, I think he says.
Yes.
And like it didn't happen for him. And that's when he decided that, it was a done deal and the life we have is all we have. And so we have to like enjoy that. And tells Keely that he loves her.
Yeah.
Right after Jamie has just said the same thing.
Yeah, it was an interesting way to set this up. And I'm okay with it, and I'm relieved that because again, I always see moments in this show that I'm like, if we were going to be more predictable, this would be the moment where she'd start doubting her relationship with Roy, and Jamie would make this declaration, and suddenly she would find herself feeling like she might have feelings for Jamie again, and be pulled in two different directions. And, like, it feels very rote. But
can I ask
rolling
you,
up and being like,
are you like, so you don't think that she has any sort of like, you don't think that Keely is now thinking, oh, well, what about Jamie?
I don't
Maybe
think
I made
so.
a mistake.
No. Like, I think that she sees that if he's going to grow, she doesn't have to be the one to hold his hand and do it with him. because
Okay.
she's got a good, like, I think, sense of her worth and how much people need to help themselves.
Right.
And Roy is somebody who, like, comes to the conclusions himself, like he does here. And Jamie is becoming that guy, but he really had to be led to water
Yeah.
all the time, you know? He's not what she needs. And I think she realizes that. And maybe one
Okay.
day he'll get there and it'll be more of a question, but I don't feel like he's there yet. And yeah, I'm not really worried about it.
So you don't feel like this is a threat to like Healy
Not
and Roy's
really.
relationship? Okay.
No. That said, Roy, be a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
Like, you know, between this and also like being up her ass, you know, and to the point where she like needs space and everything.
Yeah. Well, we know that when Roy has a situation with his grandfather, he's fairly young.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's like a little kid when he first gets sent away to play football. He's like, you know, like 10 or something. So it's a very sort of like childish reaction that Roy has to like dealing with death and how it was for him. And it takes him almost the whole episode to be able to admit what I'm doing, why I'm being a dick. This is like my problem with this, and I'm sorry, you know. But it takes him the whole episode to get there, which, to be fair, I'm glad he got there because in real life, often they don't get there.
It's true. In real life, you're sitting here in 2022 looking back at your reaction to your father's death in 2014, right. Going, listen. Oh, that's what that was.
Listen.
My bad.
Whew. Shit.
Growth.
Yeah.
Slow.
I'm still thinking about my dad's funeral when, like, my dad was not a religious man at all. We had like his funeral at a funeral home, but my aunt, my dad's sister, had her pastor from her church come and do the service, even though my dad wasn't religious at all. All kinds of talk about like being saved and going to heaven. My dad never did any of that shit.
Yeah. But what are they gonna say?
Right? Like I'm watching the whole thing and I'm just like, this isn't. But what can you do?
That's the awkward part about telling people they go to hell. Is you gotta stand by that shit, guys, and you don't unless
they never
it's like
do.
On the fucking
they
interwebs.
Never do. They spend your whole life telling you you're going to hell and then you die and they get up front and tell everybody you went to heaven. It is the weirdest fucking thing.
Yep.
But yeah, so I kind of felt for them in that moment.
Oh man, funerals. I think we should do an unsober episode about planning our own funeral.
We absolutely should.
And that way we can have a documented, like, at least something for if, God forbid, something were to happen unexpectedly before our affairs are in order. We can at least be like, well, I listened to that one unsober episode and she says that she
they were on the
this.
record.
Yes. Because, like, the fruit tree thing, I like that. Listen, I'm game. Let's do that.
My mom found a thing where there's a service where you can be buried, like, underwater in, like, a coral reef.
Oh, yeah, to help, like, rebuild reefs and stuff. Yep, that makes sense.
Yep.
And there's a lot. One of my favorite things that I almost did, and I'm still considering asking from my mom. My grandmother got cremated, and you can get ornaments made out of their ashes.
I love it. You can get it blown into glass.
Exactly.
Right?
It's like a glass hanging thing, and they had one that's a little ghost. It's like a little, like...
Oh my God, that's the best thing ever.
And I was like, my grandmother would have loved that. Like, if she were still alive and I was like, Grandma, I'm getting your ashes made into this little cartoon ghost, she would have cackled. She would have loved it. And I have been thinking about it, like, maybe I'll just ask my mom for a little bit of my grandma's ashes and I'm going to do that. Because that would have tickled her quite a bit, I think.
I was so salty. My dad ended up getting cremated. but they didn't give us any options for his ashes. They did the whole thing, and then they interned his ashes.
Oh,
And I was just like,
I guess.
like, the fuck? I'm
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah.
Like, didn't even give me an option. They put the whole shit in a box and buried it.
My mom had some of my grandmother's ashes she buried like on the property where she used to live, but she kept some.
Nice.
And I wonder about like how much ashes do you get? Like I know you get the urn. What is that? Like a quart? About a quart and a half?
Probably less.
I'm just trying to think like how much that a coffee can about whereabouts? Like
one full
full of
juice
nuts?
can. All right. We only have like 20 minutes left.
I'm so sorry, you guys.
All right.
We have 40 minutes left. We're all right.
Okay. So I want to talk about the song.
The Rickroll.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
So, full disclosure, I am a big fan. Okay. I was a big fan of the song when it hit in the 90s. I continue to be a big fan, not ironically. I think he has a fantastic voice. Rick Astley actually did this thing maybe last year where he went on tour and he sang a bunch of Smith songs as like the front man. I love Rick Astley. He's got a fantastic voice. I feel like he got a lot of shade undeservedly. It wasn't his fault. Everybody decided they were going to hate on him.
Okay.
It wasn't fair. And I love that. I feel like we are doing like this circle where we're coming back around to acknowledging just how awesome he was. And I feel like it's well deserved.
It's the reverse milkshake duck.
Yes.
Something is bad, and then it slowly comes back around, and everybody's
comes
like,
around
it's
the other
good,
side.
Actually. Yeah.
And then having Rebecca's mom be like, "Who's this white guy singing this song?"
I love that. He's white? What? This is like the reaction. What's that like soul song? It was like an R&B song, and there was a whole
Bobby
thing
Caldwell.
That's
What I Do for Love.
Oh, that is such a good song too.
It's a fantastic song. Bobby
so
Caldwell's
good.
a shit. He's got like a couple of bangers.
But yeah, the whole reaction to everybody being like, "This is Bobby Caldwell? Am I being punked? What?" But yeah, I am not a particular fan. I don't.
That's fair.
This is something that just didn't really do anything
You're also
for me,
much younger
unfortunately.
than me, so like you're like I was fairly young when this hit, so you were super young.
And the device by which she begins singing it in the midst of what should be a eulogy felt really awkward and strange. And
I loved it so much.
This just didn't really work for me.
I sat on my couch tonight watching it and cried again. Like the way her voice breaks. Because the thing is, like, she has said to us a few beats ahead of this moment, one, she doesn't know she's giving a eulogy.
Right.
Like,
her mom just kind of just like, hey, surprise. Her, right? Yeah.
She has all of this fucking horrible, negative, like, anger towards her father that's unresolved. It was never addressed. You know, we hear the story about her walking in on her dad fucking a neighbor, and then, like, it's just never talked about again. And Rebecca thinks she's holding this great big secret. You know, Rebecca thinks my mom doesn't know he did this, and I am the vault, right? Which is a particular weird thing for a child to be, and it's my experience as being like my mom's diary, right? Like you tell me your secrets and shit, and I just carry that shit. So she thinks this is like, oh, I'm finally telling my mom the thing, and mom already knows it. Yeah. So when she starts to sing, for me, it was just she doesn't know what else to say, you know. So for me, it really, really worked. It's like weird and hokey, but it worked because like she didn't know what else to say. Like, what else do I say about this man in this moment?
I think part of the reason this didn't work for me is that there's like a Frasier episode that's kind of like this.
Is is there? I have like 800 Fraser rewatches. Which episode?
His aunt dies, and she's like a monster, and he is selected to give the eulogy, and she was terrible. And the only thing that he can like finally the simultaneous plot in the episode is his father wanting to get a certain song accepted by old Blue Eyes. He's submitting to like his writers.
the swing
She's
song.
Such a
She's
groovy
lady.
She makes my heart go heidi-heidi.
I know.
And so Frasier just winds up singing that song instead of doing the eulogy because he doesn't know what else to do. Yeah. And it just, because the song was what it was.
Yeah.
Also, I was just kind of like, okay, I guess we're doing that thing, you know?
I love it because for me, watching Rebecca in this moment, it's about her and her mom. It's not really about the dad at all. You know, she's singing to her mom. You know, like even when like the whole bit about her mom, like I like to have this song playing in every room in the house
because it makes me feel happy. You shouldn't be happy today. You should be happy every day. Maybe that's part of your problem. There's something about that.
And do you want to talk about it?
Very, very mom response.
But so like there's something. Again, the idea that you can have this death. It's a character we don't know, right? We don't know this man, and the episode is not really about him. You know. So we have this intense moment. I fucking, you guys, all of them in the side room, and I know I mentioned this earlier, but the fact that the vicar or the priest or whatever he is has to keep coming to yell at them to keep it down because they are not like acting appropriately for a funeral. They're like cackling and having champagne and shit, and you know. But we had seen this moment where Rebecca and her mom, and Rebecca just tells her mom that I hate you. That is a fucking hard thing to say out loud.
That's
that
rough.
You can't take back, you know?
Then I hate you too.
Fuck, yo. Like, as close as I've been to wanting to say that out loud, I've never actually said it. As angry as I have been about so many things that my mom has done and choices she made and whatever, I've never had that moment, you know?
I don't think I have either. I don't know.
I don't think I could do it. The guilt of saying those words out loud would fucking murder me. I would never recover. So when she says that, and her mom is just like, I don't know what to tell you. This is who I am. I love who I love. I knew what he was. It was enough for me. And then Rebecca being put on the spot because she doesn't know she's required. You know, she doesn't know she's supposed to be doing the eulogy. And she decides to take this moment and give her mom something. Whew, y'all. Sobs.
Yeah, no, like, and I can understand why you had this reaction, you know, but I just didn't.
Yeah, no, and I get why you didn't. Yeah. It's funny how that goes both ways, you know?
Yeah. This is how I am with fashion. I can look at this and be like, that is super not for me. Also, I get it.
Yeah.
Do it. It's art. That's what that is. You know what that's called? Art.
And I love too that, like, because Ted is having his own shit this episode, right? He's hella late. And he shows up.
And he's the one that supports her through the singing of the song.
Because it's so awkward. Like, everybody's just like, what is she doing?
Yeah. Because at first when she starts the lyrics, she's not even really singing. She's just saying them. And then it, like, evolves into singing. Yeah.
And it just, like, the way her voice cracks and the emotion in this moment, I was 100% in. I really was. I thought it was, I don't know, it was just so well done.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, I don't know much. I didn't do a lot of, like, reading about this moment afterwards, so I'm not really sure how this played when they were recording it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much of it was organic and how much of it was, directed.
Mm-hmm.
But it really worked for me. It really did. There's some chat that I'm not allowed to look at, but you can look at it.
Erica says that was Hannah. She told Jason Sudeikis that she wouldn't be able to make it through. Oh, the actress who plays Rebecca's name is Hannah? Is that right?
Hitting, Wadding.
So she asked him to like chime in, I guess.
Oh.
And Cam says also read up. Oh, she means read up the chat. I thought you meant like read up a little, like read up on the episode. The lyrics were the opposite of who her dad was, right? Erica, because it was about her feelings for her mother, right? RoShawn said all this. Erica says posted a link to something with Rick Astley, but I don't know. I can't click on that right now. So that'll have to wait. Erica says that Hannah's father was having open heart surgery on the same day. Ooh.
Oh shit!
Yeah, that'll add a little layer to that.
Wow.
Okay, I'm really worried about this. We have that moment that starts everything off with Keely realizing that Roy is not interested in talking about the death. And it's her asking, where do you think he is now? And it sort of spontaneously creates a conversation of what people wish would happen after they die.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoy Higgins saying that he hopes to be Cindy Crawford's pet in another life, which truly pets like do have it made to a degree.
Sassy says the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Keely is like, I could be a tree and I could be a stupid dog.
But fucking Nathan says he'd like to be a tiger and then just rip the face off anybody who looks at me wrong. And again, Ted just like looks at him and I'm just like, Ted, I'm going to need you to begin to do something about this because the number of times you have paused and looked at this man, it's adding up.
I had asked you maybe 2 episodes ago to keep an eye on Nate. Just keep an eye on Nate. See
he
if you
gets
notice
a little moment with Rupert. We don't hear what Rupert says to him.
Yeah,
and you see Rebecca noticing and being like, what the fuck is he saying to Nate? And I also would like to know, because I feel like that's poison. Whatever Rupert is putting in his ear is poison.
Yeah, well,
he didn't
Rupert
get the reaction that he wanted at the end when he was leaving. They invited him to the house and were super sweet to him, and he didn't like that they one-upped him. So he went and he did something there to try and leave behind an issue for them to deal with that he gets to be delighted about. And I am not excited to watch this.
Do you have any theories, any wild guesses about what this might turn into, if anything?
Genuinely don't. I really, because like, I don't know how well he knows Nate. I don't know how well tailored.
There's no reason for us to believe that he knows Nate at all.
Right.
Previously, because Nate was just Kit Man. He's like literally nobody. But
I don't
know Nate has a much higher profile now.
Sure.
Because we see Nate on the Twitters and he's the Wonder Kid and all that shit.
I don't know.
Also, Rupert mentions to Rebecca that with the baby, there's no time for footy anymore. They're going to just...
and he gives Rebecca back the shares.
Do you have any thoughts?
Maybe he's telling him, like, maybe you should buy some shares or something. I don't know. Because he's never going to give her back shares for a selfless reason. Just being like, oh, we just don't need them anymore. Like, what? Are you? That's not how that would go.
Doesn't feel right.
Of course not. And I love Rebecca's reaction, who was saying something like, she says like a funeral gift.
I love that. Her mom was like, no, that's very gracious of you. That's very generous.
Just to interrupt and be like, girl, don't. I know you want to, but don't. So like, that was my instinct when I saw it, was like, is it to do with that? But I don't know what that would even be, because I don't know what kind of money Nate makes. Can he buy shares?
No.
What would that
He
like?
cannot.
I don't think he can, right? And telling him about that, what does that accomplish either? Like, I don't know enough about how the shares work either to make any sort of guess on that.
Right.
So yeah, really do not know. But I am just big, giant, waving red flag. And I have to point out how completely believable it is that Rupert would zero in on Nate and understand who to prey on here.
I think that is an excellent observation.
He knows exactly what the weak link is. And I do not doubt whatever he did here is going to work, because Nate is weak. Sorry, Nate.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Look on RoShawn's face, everybody, I swear.
So,
oh my God. And there's the moment where he mentions that the suit, Keely points out the suit Nate's wearing is the
fucking
one
Yanma's talking about. That's very
infantilizing, isn't it? And even Jamie, who does not have any sense of tact, looks over at him and just says, Jesus Christ, man.
Right?
Nate's like, no, my other suits are my mom
bought them for me.
Oh, Nate.
Yeah, and then fucking Beard has got Jane on the FaceTime for the funeral the whole time. There's a whole other things going on. So there's I really, really appreciated the time we get with Rebecca, Keely, Sassy, and Nora. Because they're having conversation an episode or two ago, especially from Chris, wondering about how Nora would take the news that Rebecca was dating Sam.
Mm-hmm.
And so we finally get that moment.
And Nora just calls her a boss-ass bitch.
Nora is not mad
at all. And I was so glad. Because I genuinely was like, I don't know what to... Like, she seems very reasonable, so I didn't think she'd be mad. But sometimes she can hit you weird.
Yeah, she's a teenager. Who knows how that's going to go?
And he's much closer to her age than Rebecca's age. Yeah. So...
But Nora's here for it.
I love it. She's just living vicariously through... I can imagine her... If they were like had a slightly different relationship, just being like, okay, look, tell me, like, how is he though? Like, tell me a lot of detailed things about him, please.
What does Sassy say to Rebecca?
Is it because his giant penis
is your tiny
for your tiny little vagina? Is that the problem?
I fucking love Sassy so much. Oh my God. I don't know if I want a Sassy in my life or if I want to beat the Sassy for someone else. I'm not even sure which it is I want. But I know I want one of those things. She's so great.
She climbs up over the balcony to get into Rebecca's room too.
And then
Nora falls flat on her back.
She's like, I could do that in seconds. And I was drunk most of the time.
I love Nora just being like, I gave it a shot. I'm going to stay down here. You guys come down when you're ready.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. But I love the again, we talked about this a couple of different times, the idea that you can have these women in this show and they can have a relationship that is separate, you know, that is just about them. When Keely shows up at the funeral and she's being all just like, I'm so sorry for your loss. Is there anything I can do? And then she sees Sassy and she squeals like she's at the fucking club and they run up and hug. And then Roy is like, well, you just get used to it. But like just the genuine sort of like, I'm so happy to see you. Yeah. You know? It's and I didn't realize how rare it is to see that in like regular television. You know, that so often women are portrayed as sort of like enemies, you know? They are adversaries. And
in competition somehow. Yeah.
And usually for like the attention of some man, it's not even worth it. You know what I mean? Some fucking ridiculous fucking Ross type character or whatever the fuck.
Did you see Hustlers?
I still haven't seen it.
Sean, goddamn it!
Where can I watch it?
It's on Prime. I
is
feel
it?
like and I don't know if I own it, but I should. Oh my god, there goes a movie, and I'm just gonna spoil this for you. There is
go ahead.
not a like romantic plot line in it. It's female friendships, and I've read interviews later where the fucking producers were trying to push a romantic plot into it, saying that there had to be some.
Oh, there had to be a man that was the point of everything.
And they really were like, we're not doing that. And I can't remember if it was specifically the director or the writer, but thank God, because half of what makes the movie what it is how little men matter. Like, that's
I love that.
Not even half. It's probably like 80%. And that's what's so wonderful about it.
Yeah. It's so rare.
It really is. So I am just very, very, if you guys haven't seen Hustlers, it's like literally at this point, one of my favorite movies ever. Top 5, I think. Rewatchable. I watched it with Owen, and it was like 3 days out from my birthday. And I went and watched it again on my birthday because I just loved it so much. So do please, everybody, watch it. And yes, I recognize that Jennifer Lopez is problematic.
Yeah,
but
well,
a
what
bitch
can
pole dance like a motherfucker.
Isn't Cardi B in it
for a little bit?
For
and
like
so
a
Lizzo.
Yeah. Oh, Lizzo too.
Mm-hmm.
I really need to watch that.
Yeah, it's a good time.
But yeah, it's like, I don't know if I didn't realize how rare it was until I started to see like snippets of moments of like women on screen having relationships with each other that weren't like, the center wasn't a man.
Yeah.
They were having relationships with each other because they found value in each other. It wasn't necessarily just about talking about this man we want to be with, or why doesn't he love us, or whatever.
That's the thing about fucking tropes, man, is you don't see how common your expectation is until they don't do the thing. And then all of a sudden you're like, why does this feel so fucking fresh? And then you realize, oh, they just didn't do the tired ass thing that I'm used to seeing. Yeah. Yeah.
J-Lo is problematic.
Chris is asking for those wondering.
How would you say?
I would recommend Googling this. We don't need to get into it here because we really don't have time.
Yeah.
But appropriator and liar.
Yeah, she's not problematic in the sense that we are accustomed of using that word, because generally that sort of term is about something very specific. Mm-hmm. But she has, taken credit for some shit that she shouldn't be getting credit for. Mainly vocals, because that bitch cannot sing.
Apparently, she's releasing something that's called "This Is Me" now, and I'm like, girl, I don't know if you realize the significance of that.
We don't want to. No, ma'am.
I don't feel like you should have called it that, but I guess.
But so by the end of this episode, Rebecca has told Sam that she needs to figure out what she's so afraid of. Needs some space. It feels like she's gotten to a little bit of a healthier place with her mom. I mean, it's hard to say, right after the funeral, like, who knows how it's going to go. But it feels like they are on their way to something real,
And I love her mom being like, I was so proud of you for leaving him.
Oh my God.
It was really nice to see, like, look, I stayed because I knew what I was getting into, and that was what I was willing to do. But it was great to see that my child wasn't going to settle,
Especially because Rebecca is, like, talking about how hard it was to leave Rupert and how much it sucks to fucking be alone, right? It sucks. But then Rebecca's like, but I'm coming up to the other side.
Yeah.
And now I feel like maybe I'm getting to figure out, like, who I am. And I really appreciate her mother, like, acknowledging how difficult that is and how proud she is of her.
Mhm.
But also, it doesn't automatically make Rebecca less angry.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Rebecca still, like, has a right to feel how she feels. It's not, like, undone just because her mom is like, oh, well, I was proud of you for leaving.
Mm-hmm. Not magic words.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always appreciated.
That's the other thing that the show does really well, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where it, like, creates space for sort of, like, understanding or forgiveness or coming to, like, you know, understanding, but it doesn't automatically dismiss how the other person was feeling. It doesn't negate, you know.
Like Rupert saying, I'm a different man now. I have a daughter.
How awesome was that moment? We say, oh, really? You have a daughter now?
I guess that
So
just,
it just
totally erases everything
everything.
you did. Mm-hmm.
Fucking sassy.
I love there's some tweet that was like, imagine being married to a man who says he didn't see women as people until he had a daughter.
Bitch. Why are men still saying this out loud in public?
I know, right?
Like it's a thing.
They really are proud of it too.
How
and there
are
are
you
still
not
people willing to pat their
embarrassed?
little heads for it. Like, mm-hmm.
If you're listening to this, gentlemen, don't do this.
Don't do it.
Don't. Oh, I have a daughter now. Don't. Just don't.
Mm-hmm. And when women are talking about a thing, don't chime in with, well, I'm teaching my daughter. We don't care. We don't care. We don't need it. You're not part of this conversation. Having a daughter doesn't make you part of the conversation.
It really doesn't.
Just stop.
It's so many of them do it. If I like the hashtag girl dad,
that whole thing, girl dads, boy moms. I don't know what the fuck.
What are we doing?
We're gonna do I kind of want to fuck my own daughter, and I'm gonna be very like jealously guarding her virginity, and then we're gonna have I kind of want to fuck my own son, and I'm going to be really protective of him from you.
No woman is going to be good enough for my son because she's not going to be as good as I was. What? What are we all doing?
How about you just go to therapy? How about that?
Therapy for everybody.
Lord. All right. I feel like we pretty much covered everything. Is there anything else you want to mention?
We talked about Ted, Rebecca. I think we covered everybody. Yeah. I had some, I asked you about Nate. I asked you about Rupert. Yeah. I think we covered everything.
Well.
Uh-oh.
This is the day that we say hi to the one new patron that I got since the last time I read the new patrons. And this means that this one new patron is going to get so much attention.
Hooray, new patron.
Thank you to Pritam Ozarde.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Turns out pressing that button into a blanket, not super effective.
Cam is like, not enough warning.
Not enough. I'm sorry, Cam. But it's a hype button, so I gotta do it. But yeah, thank you very much to Pritam Ozarde. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. I really appreciate you. Thank you for becoming a patron. And everybody, so sorry how late the postcards are for $10 and up patrons are coming, I swear. But it has been, with dealing with the new members of the family, the holidays, and I got sick over the holidays, which really slowed everything down. It has been, everything has just been thrown off kilter. Yeah. Do you see my lights behind me, my Christmas lights? The puppy just yanked those bitches down. That's why it's all like fucking disheveled. And I was like looking at it like I should put those, and I would have to put new command hooks and and I was just like, I'm not doing it. Everybody's just gonna see the wreck. He's very good. He doesn't put I'm in a Facebook group about like tips for caring for puppies and training puppies, and people are sharing harrowing images, you guys, of like what they find when they come home after leaving their puppy in a room all day. Pippin doesn't do that. He doesn't chew everything. Yeah, but like I leave him in my office all night, and most of the people that I'm seeing, they could not leave a puppy alone in a room full of like wires. Like
He's
wires in particular are a
I
thing.
can't even leave the girls, the cats in the
This is what
room
I'm
with the
saying.
wires. Yeah.
So I did this like, initially because he was ill, and I was thinking he doesn't have the energy to go after this stuff, but he's healthy now and he's still not. And I just feel like very lucky that I'm able to keep him in here.
He's trying to fucking like keep me.
He's genuinely
a good boy I am. Keep me.
He's fucking potty trained. I have all of these like puppy pads out here. 2 days
that
in a row now,
baby is working harder than a lot of boyfriends I had.
For real.
Trying to like be like, keep me around.
He is like, I wouldn't consider keeping him if he weren't this well behaved. I have to be perfectly honest. Like, I'm not up for it. It's like having a child. But he has been so good that I'm just like, oh man, I think I'm gonna have to. Cam says bronchitis sick. Yeah. And it's like, I think I got through most of today without coughing at all. So it's like pretty much almost gone. But bronchitis is so annoying.
It really is. I haven't really had it since COVID became a thing, and I wear my mask all the time. But as someone who got it every year for like the last 20 years,
I thought that you had it like this like last month.
No, I didn't have bronchitis. I had a bad chest cold and a UTI, but I didn't have bronchitis because that's a whole other situation that feels very different. No, I haven't had bronchitis since COVID.
That's nice. Good.
Yeah.
I hope that stays.
Yeah. Every year. I almost die.
I used to get a lot as a kid, and I think that like led to me having asthma and eventually getting pneumonia. And
Yep.
It's a whole thing. But
it's the fucking worst. This shit all locks up. I feel like you have cement. Like all of this
and you're
turns
like
into
coughing,
a block
like
of cement.
trying to move something.
It all is like rock hard in there. Yeah.
And then you start to cough, and you feel that like pain in your ribs because your muscles are contracting, and they're just like, what do you want from us? We're contracting. We're doing it. What?
Once it's over, all this shit is so sore because like you've been.
You start laughing. You're like, ow, oh. Don't make me laugh. Don't make me feel anything.
Yep.
Taking the puppy on walks, and I'm like, ooh, I feel a lot better. And then I get out into that fucking Arctic freeze air, and I'm just like,
one inhale.
I sound like an old man laughing. Yeah.
It's funny.
It's real nice.
It's true. Yep.
Anyway, all right. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Thank you to everybody for listening. Love you all very
everybody.
much. Yeah, by the time this comes out, it will be well into the new year.
Bitch, what the fuck?
Yep.
What?
Actually, for patrons, it's going to come out on New Year's Eve.
Oh, okay.
So should we do a countdown so everybody can listen to this and come into New Year's Eve with us? You want to do it? 10, 9, 8, 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year! RoShawn's counting was so lackluster.
Listen,
6 out of 10, ma'am.
Sorry. I'm not very excited about the new year. I'm sorry, I couldn't fake it.
I'm not mad at that.
I am filled with dread.
It just does feel like what's
I'm gonna be
next?
fucking 48 this year, y'all. I'm so close to 50. It's a bummer.
We're rolling up on it.
It's a real bummer.
We gotta figure out our thing.
Our thing?
Yeah, remember? Said we would celebrate my 40th and your 50th together. Somehow. 2 years from now.
Can I get a facelift and a BBL or whatever the fuck they call that shit?
Can you imagine? Like, I know that people who are on camera get work done and just appear with a new face all the time. But, like, I am not the type that you would expect that from. And what if I just showed up and I had a whole
new
different face? and like, I genuinely feel like people would be like, I'm kind of upset. I don't like it. What are you doing? Who is this?
Well, as long as I can also get a new face, I wouldn't judge you. If you got a new face alone, then I would be really salty about it.
We should get just some really advanced, like, AI software that just filters the fuck out of us and be like, yeah, we got some work done. And no, we can't meet anybody in person anymore because of COVID restrictions. Nobody can ever set eyes on us ever again.
I gotta get a new phone with more storage so I can download that Lensa app so I can get a new fucking face. Because my janky ass phone was like, bitch, nah, you can't play.
There is so much. I was looking at this video today and I paused it and her eyelashes were on her cheeks.
Oh my God.
And I was like, God damn it. Because I'm looking at her like, oh, she's so pretty. She got a fucking filter on with makeup. And I always forget that's even a thing that you can do. And it's like no effort. The thing just does it for you.
Just does it for you.
So I keep looking at people being like, God, everybody looks so good all the time. And I feel like such a gremlin. And
it's
I'm like,
so
no, they don't.
Wild. Like, we know that this is a thing, right? Like, we know that the shit we're looking at isn't real. And yet, in real time, we're just like, oh, that bitch so pretty. Oh, why does everybody look so good? Like, we know it, and then it's gone. And
I don't try and, like, I wear makeup and stuff, you know, but I don't use those filters on my recordings or in photos. Yeah, I just feel weird about it. Like, I feel like I'm perpetuating that insecurity, you know? So I don't do it. Not judging people who do, because I get it. It's fun, fine. You know? And it's really easy. But it's just, I know how I react. And I'm like, I don't want to do that to somebody.
Same.
But anyway, RoShawn and I are definitely going to have to do something for our big birthdays. And
oh my God, yeah.
I don't know what that's going to look like. It's probably going to be a lot of reading and sleeping. But
preferably.
We're going to do it up, however it is. You know, really read hard. Remember I said I would like to just burrow into a hole and not do anything and let the world pass me by for a little while?
That's the dream.
I just think maybe that'll be our birthdays and we'll finally be able to live that.
I love every bit of this.
Like we're curled up at a fire at Cindy Crawford's feet. All right, guys, until next time. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
No, my hands won't be tied down, and I will not lay them down, 'cause I can finally see the truth. So simple but so clear, accepting the notion's depths were out of reach for me and you. If you're coming up for air, breathing in, you know I'll be there when you first begin. And when everybody's telling us we have no time, we'll prove them wrong again.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.